Hello, it's Kevin, back again. It's been a while, it's been at least a week since I made a video, but many students, much work to do on my channel, on my talkie, etc. Anyway, first things first, disclaimer caper, fair use, etc, etc, blah blah blah. Okay, get rid of that. Now, we're looking at this. If you can see it, it's not so large, but anyway, so as you know, we've been doing the Cambridge 17 and 16 essays and writing task 1 academic tasks. We did all the 17 ones, did 16, we did Cam 15 test 1 about a week or so back, and this is test number 2. This is the Caribbean island one. This is, as you can see, it's a line chart of a graph. The number of tourists visiting a particular Caribbean island, 2010 to 2017. So what do we do first? Well, first, obviously you have to do an analysis of the task. Let me just get this ready. Okay. So, as always, I've written a sample, and I've got 4 for students or learners' responses from IELTS 9 Pro on Telegram, my group there. Only 4 for this particular task. So we've got my sample, we've got 4 responses. We'll take a look and we'll see. Now, as you can see, when you're writing this, you've got that typical 4 paragraphs as a structure. Introduction, overview, figures, data, figures and data. So the introduction here, you need to summarize the rubric, the title, what's on the what's on the x-axis, what's on the y-axis. Okay, like in this one here, the line graph illustrates the total number of tourists to a particular Caribbean island from 2010 to 2017, and whether they stayed on the island on a cruise ship. Actually, I could even add this, and I ought to have done. So, the more data you can put in your introduction and overview, the better. So, what's on the x-axis? What's on the y-axis? So, measured in millions of visitors from 2010 to 2017. You've got the total number of tourists, those who stayed on a ship and those who stayed on the island. Okay, so we can see then, I mean this one's pretty straightforward. We can see that in general, number of tourists has considerably increased. And we can see there's a differential initially between the cruise ships and the island, but in general, all 3 trends are up. But obviously this intertwines and changes over. And that's it, really. That's pretty much it. We don't really need that. Let me get out of the way now. Okay. So the line graph shows the total number of tourists, particular island. Okay. So paragraph 2, we have to have an overview. The total number of tourists to the island increased considerably because it went straight up, especially those on cruise ships. The number of visitors who stayed on the island also rose, but at a more moderate rate. And that's it. No figures or data, because this is what we're going to put here in paragraph 3 and 4. So, at the beginning of the period, tourists staying on the island were approximately 750,000, compared with about 2.5 million for those on the ships. From that point, the island stayers rose to 1.5 by 2013, 1 million more. So we're making a comparison here because we're progressing up through the chart and through the time. 2010, 2013, 2017. Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to read it all. You can read it here. I'll just scroll down so you can see it. Well, as you can see here, most of the data, island stayers, those on the ships. What's the figures? In 2010 it was this, then 2013 it was that, and then it passed in 2015 and it finished in 2017. So it's just it's not every single year. They don't expect you to do in this year and this year every single year. It's only the key features, the key bits of information they expect you to record. And finally, just the general overall trend showed a considerable increase, etc. And that, I think, that would work quite well. So, first thing, you paraphrase what the chart actually shows you. General overview shows the general trends, you know, that's gone up, that's gone down, but this one's easy because all of the trends were upwards. And then describe the data, make comparisons. So this was this was that, at this point it crossed over and blah, blah, blah. And as I say, you don't need every single fact and figure, just the key ones. What's the standout points? Really, follow them both to the end of the period, and then write about the overall trend as well, which would be logical to put that at the end. So it's all about this logical organisation of information. I'll show you the criteria again. Let me find it. Just to give you that idea of what the examiners want. Where is it? This criteria for writing. And no relevant information could be appropriately added to the response. Task achievement score 9. Okay, key features clearly presented, highlighted. Overview, clear overview, main trends clearly identified, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's what we've got to do. And as I keep saying, you must have an overview, because if you don't have it, that's what you get. Okay, so fair use, once again, disclaimer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's get rid of that. Now, let's have a look at yours. Well, yours. Maybe they are yours, because they are completely anonymous. The only writings in the group. So where are we? Right. So we just pause for a second. And I'll have a quick drink of my tea, and then we'll take a look at your writings. Okay, let me get some changes on. Now, I may or may not change everything, make all the changes. I'm certainly not going to rewrite all 4 of these. I don't have the time. As always, I'm making this video as quickly as possible in between my lessons. This is one reason why I don't make content continuously, because I've got to be talking to the students and doing my other projects. So anyway, I'll try and get this done as quickly as I can. So the given language right. So first, watch for tenses. The over divided into the group and the other group who stayed on the island article. Clearly noticeable to others in this period had been raised. Rose sharply. Because the whole period is in the past. Yeah? So during that period, rose. In 2010, now, first thing, the overview is at the bottom. Now, it doesn't strictly say in the criteria that the overview must come over, but I think most people would actually think, well, you know, over, not underview, right? So I would put it for paragraph 2. That's what I do and what most of the other online teachers do also, because that's why it's called an overview. Anyway. And you don't put the figures in any case, right? So you got to clearly identify the key trends or features. So this bit here should have really gone in the overview. So all that you need is the graph shows blah, 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 blah. But this here, so right, this really should be over here. and this should be part of that. So that's the overview, right? Key trends and features, but no figures or data. Simply what's gone up, what's gone down. Like in mine, overall increased, rose, blah blah blah, but there's no figures or data. All right, so that's what you need to do. The number of visitors stayed. Don't forget your relative pronouns. Who stayed on the island were, or was, because visitors is a group, was about 3 times more than those who stayed on the cruise ship. But what's the figures though? Were the total numbers of both groups were 1 billions? A billion? Is it a billion? It's millions, not so billions. Okay, so first then, what's the amount? All right. Where's the figures? The total number of both groups were a billion. Where? A billion? So, during the next year, there's right, I'm not going to rewrite all this. During the next year, the visitors who stayed on, so we've got a lot of like stay on cruise, stay on cruise, stay on island, stayed on island. You need to vary that, like I did. So I said something like, visitors who staying on the island, cruise ship passengers, island stayers, so visitors, tourists, those on cruise ships, island stayers, cruise ship passengers. So I'm trying to vary the language as much as possible. Those who stayed on the island was unchanged or had no change. Again, no figures. So the first group, so we can see this is a bit of a jumble. It's a bit of a jumble. It's not very clear or logically arranged and organised. Okay, next. The line chart illustrates some tourists who preferred to staying. So we've got our infinitive, but then we've got gerund, participle, but who preferred to stay on cruise ships or on island in the Caribbean island. So it's a particular island, it's a given Caribbean island. So, or on island in the island? Okay. At a glance, well, okay, but you mean from an overall view? Number of tourists although the number of tourists increased during 10 years or over 10 years, visitors at the beginning, I suppose that should be, of a period so it's all past, it's all in the past. 2010, 2017, so it's all simple past, yeah? To stay on the island, so articles, rather than a cruise ship, and at the end of a period, staying on the cruise ships are chosen. So again, right, so this is a bit of a jumble. So it's not clearly really identifying those key trends, which is everything going up. Really, that's it. That's all that you've got to do. In details, at the beginning of a period, the number of visitors was near at, well, right, you could say about, around, approximately. Okay, they're better words. There's some meals and some, or with some a fluctuation or fluctuations during 2 years. The number reached at the first number. I'm not even sure what that means. The number reached at the first. However, the number of visitors who were staying on cruise ships remained the same or was constant. And after that was and hit a peak or simply peaked. Got 5 millions likewise staying cruise ships. Have soared. Well, we wouldn't use present perfect. Soared and overtook the number of visitors staying on the island between 2015 and 2016 and reached at, or simply reached 2 million 2017. By contrast, I've said around in spite of the fact that we're not. So, by contrast, in spite of, well, you've got a contrast one here by saying by contrast. So you don't need by contrast in spite of, because it's a contrast anyway. So by contrast, the number of people who stayed on the island have remained what? Remained the same? And right, so again, it's a bit of a jumble, right? It's not very clear at all. The graph shows number of Caribbean Island visitors. Well, it's one particular island. The difference between the cruise groups. The one that stayed or which stayed on the cruise ship, on a cruise ship or cruise ships, and the other which stayed on the island. So, okay. Generally, the number of tourists increased steadily during the whole years. What you mean during the period? Across the period. In 2010, right, so again, you've got figures and data here. So I mention this in every video about the importance of the overview, clearly identifying the key trends and features. I have to talk about this every single time. I don't know why, because it's like what we've done. This is the 10th video that we've done now. Every time I have to say, get the overview right, just identify what's the biggest, what's the smallest, what's gone up, what's gone down, what's changed, what hasn't changed. That's it. I have to say this every single time. This is video 10 now. So I was hoping that people might have been paying attention, but obviously not. Then you've got figures and data that we don't want. 750,000 of tourists stayed in Ireland. So we're missing prepositions again, articles. Tourists stayed on the island. You know, the number stayed the same. It decreased a little. But in terms of again, number of tourists. Right. So it's a bit of a jumble, and it doesn't. It's only 162 words. So I can't be bothered to rewrite that one. See if this one's better now. I think, yeah, I took a look at this one before. This one is definitely better. A line graph compares the number of tourists. Right, we don't need that. Number of tourists who stayed on the island. So it's a particular island. So the line graph compares the number of tourists who stayed on a particular Caribbean island or cruise ships, period of 7 years, etc. So that's better, but it's still not as as comprehensive, as mine. Okay. So what's the overview? Let's have a look. What have they done? Overall, the total visitors increased dramatically. We can see that the number of tourists who stayed on the island. What's this about relative pronouns and articles? Have I got to rewrite every single thing? I'm on those who or that or who stayed on the cruise. So, okay, this is probably the better out of the 4, but still, it still needs a little bit of work. So, the intro needs a little bit more detail, and we need to have the key trends and features, especially, right? All 3. So, in general, overall, visitors went up by quite a fair way, including island and ship. But there was a contrast between the two, like I said in my example. So let's have a look at the details now. So again, articles: on island, on cruise ship. Tourist state decrease. Okay. So this isn't too bad. It's not as clear as it could be, but still, this is definitely the best out of the 4. Now, I've got to get off got students coming in my classroom, so I'll just leave mine here for you to have a look at it. Okay, so clear introduction, right? It shows this, this axis, etc. Okay. Key trends. Everything's gone up, but these two went up at a slightly different rate. And then figures and data. Compare, contrast, like was it 2015 they overlapped and crossed over, yeah? Put that one. And then the final thing, overall trend, 207 words. Actually, it's probably a little bit more now, probably 210 words, because I added that. Yeah, 210. So, and I haven't done anything. I haven't altered this. I wrote it and I haven't changed anything. So if I were to think about it now, I could probably lose a few words. But anyway, it's 210 words. That is fine, and it only took me about 10 minutes to write. So anyway, so I'll just leave that there. You can see it, and I'm going to post the next task. Cambridge 15 test number 3. I'm not sure what it is. I'll check it out. So once this video is processed, I mean, you're watching it kind of now, but I'm recording it in your past. Anyway, so once we've got this done, processed, it will be up on Telegram, in the group, on my channel, and on the other platforms that we use. If you're watching it there, I hope it helped. And if you want to submit your writings, if you're in IELTS 9 Pro, you already know where to go. If you're watching this on my channel on YouTube, in the box I'll put the link to the Telegram group and my profile on italki if you need anything else. Okay, so got to get ready for some students now. So hope that helps. Don't forget, get all the information that you can in the introduction, and then overview. What's the big picture? Up, down, changed, not changed. Then what's a logical way to arrange the rest of the information? And figures and details. So, hope that helps. See you next time. Hopefully not such a long time in between, but you never know. I'm pretty busy these days. So anyway, I'll catch you later. Bye for now.